Have you ever been in a heated discussion where you just knew you were right? Like, not just, oh, I'm pretty sure, but the kind of certainty that makes you want to say, let me explain this slowly using small words so you can understand. Now, none of us would ever think or talk like such a thing. But when your blood pressure rises and you feel your heart racing, and all of a sudden you're the topic of someone's dinner conversation. Yeah, well, that was me the other day. There I was, quote unquote, arguing over something really important, like whether pineapple belongs on pizza, which no, it does not. But I was so confident my perspective was the only logical one. You would have thought I had a PhD in being right. Then, mid rant, something hit me. What if, and this is a wild thought, what if I'm wrong? It's a terrifying idea, isn't it? The thought that your airtight arguments might have a few leaks. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized how often we all get stuck in this trap, this weird, self-satisfied certainty that everyone else is wrong and we are the keeper of universal truths. So today, we are talking about being wrong. I know, not exactly everyone's favorite topic, but what if being wrong isn't the disaster that we make it out to be? What if it's actually a superpower? Yeah, hear me out. I mean, think about it. Some of the best stories, the biggest breakthroughs, the most memorable laughs, they often start with someone, usually me, being spectacularly wrong about something. So we're going to explore the art of embracing our wrongness, because sometimes the best way to be right is to get comfortable with being wrong. I'm Chad Lawson, and let's calm it down in 3, 2, 1. Have you ever been cut off in traffic and then immediately thought, this person must be late for their charity work? Or maybe they're having an emergency. No, of course not. Your very first thought is something like, who gave this idiot a license to drive? More or less. I mean, we do this everywhere, right? In traffic, at work, at home. Heaven forbid someone loads the dishwasher differently. Bowls on the top rack? Really? Somehow, we convince ourselves that our way is the right way, the only way. But in our defense, it's not just about being stubborn. It's not. It's actually a survival tactic that our brains have picked up over the years. Certainty feels safe. And being wrong, well, that feels like showing up to a party in a costume, only to realize it's not a costume party. But being wrong just feels uncomfortable, right? But here's a way to think about it. Imagine that you are staring at a mountain range. Now, from your spot, you see specific peaks and valleys, and they are all framed beautifully by the sun. It's gorgeous, right? But someone else, standing just a mile away, they see a completely different view from where they are. Different shadows, different angles. Their mountain has a Starbucks and yours has a bear. Well, who's right? Well, spoiler alert, both of you are. But how often do we insist that our view is the only view? This reminds me of the time I was teaching years and years ago, but there was a piano student and they were struggling with a certain piece. And here I am explaining the concepts over and over and saying to myself, why isn't this clicking? Why are they not able to understand this, right? It's like they're not even trying to unlock the mysteries of Beethoven via what I'm showing them. It's like they're not even trying to unlock the mysteries of Beethoven with what I'm showing them. But then another teacher walked by and stopped and explained it differently. And suddenly, you guess it, the students, they understood. It was a really humbling moment. My way wasn't the wrong way, per se, but it wasn't the only right way either. So this student simply needed to hear it from a different perspective to understand. Which, let's be honest, it's pretty humbling when this happens, right? I mean, to admit that your way isn't the only way. And it's also surprisingly freeing. Yes, you heard me. When you let go of the need to always be right, you make room. You make room for new insights and for understanding something in a different way, right? For those moments when someone says, actually, I see it differently. And then you don't immediately feel the urge to flip a table. So how do we stop thinking that we're the only geniuses in the room? Well, first, we have to replace judgment with curiosity. I'm going to say that again. We have to replace judgment with curiosity. Instead of, how can they not see what's so obvious? Maybe it's a, what do they see that I don't? And then we also have to embrace these magical words. Are you ready for this? You may want to write this down. This is really important. I might be wrong. Oh, how hard is it for us to say that sometimes? I might be wrong. Not only saying this makes you seem incredibly humble, but it's also a really fantastic way to confuse your enemies. Imagine their faces when you say, I might have missed something there. What's your take? Let's be honest. They won't know whether to argue or to buy you a coffee, but I might be wrong. Put that in your everyday vocabulary. It's also a really wonderful safety net. So when you are wrong, you're like, yeah, I just said I might be wrong. But third, remember, being wrong is not a character flaw. It's not. Being wrong is not a character flaw. Some of the greatest discoveries came from people that were willing to ask questions, that were willing to question even their own assumptions, right? There was a guy named Alexander Fleming. You may have heard of him. He noticed that there was mold growing on his petri dishes. And instead of tossing them out, he wondered, I wonder if there might be something worth investigating, which his curiosity led to penicillin. That's amazing. Sometimes what looks like a mistake is really just a new way to learn something. So here's the kicker. Just like Alexander Fleming, the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. It's like climbing that mountain. Each step gives you a better view, but you also see how many more mountains there are. And this is why experts like scientists and artists and your grandma who's lived through 4 wars usually sound less certain than people who just Googled something 5 minutes ago. So what do we do with this newfound awareness of being wrong? Well, the next time that you are convinced you're right, whether it's about politics or the proper way to toast a bagel, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what if I'm missing something? What if their perspective isn't wrong, just different? Practice saying things like, I haven't thought of it that way. Or, that's interesting. Can you tell me more? It's amazing how these phrases can totally diffuse an argument. And sometimes you even learn something. And at the end of the day, that's a wonderful thing. So before we wrap up, I want to acknowledge the irony here. I get it. It's not lost on me. I'm sitting here telling you why you shouldn't think you're always right, as if I have it all figured out, which I don't. So take what resonates, question the rest, and remember, even what I'm saying, even this is just one perspective. So as you go through your week, catch yourself in those everyone is wrong but me kind of moments. Turn your certainty into curiosity. Because at the end of the day, none of us have all the answers. I'm going to say that again, even for myself. At the end of the day, none of us have all the answers. We're all just climbers on the same mountain, looking at the same peaks from different angles. And honestly, that's what makes it so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for living. And thank you for questioning. Thank you for being open, for a little humility. I've definitely learned a lot in this episode myself. Until next time, be kind to your mind and join me again as we calm it down. To find more episodes of Calm It Down, see where I may be appearing in your area, or just simply want to know where to send me some chocolate chip cookies, visit calmitdownpodcast.com. This podcast was written and produced by yours truly, Chad Lawson, composer, pianist, and nationally recognized Sweet Tooth. The views, expressions, and techniques in this episode are of my personal opinion and not intended, nor should they, serve as a substitute for medical advice or diagnosis rendered to you by your individual doctor or other healthcare provider. Only a licensed physician should evaluate your situation, provide a diagnosis, or render other medical advice to you, and you should only act upon the advice of this physician. Now, I'm an extreme empath by nature, but my profession is that of a composer and pianist, not a licensed therapist or physician. I hear from thousands of listeners how my music has helped them through various stages of emotional needs, and I simply want to offer this in future podcast episodes to aid those needs. So to find a list of licensed professionals in your area, please visit calmitdownpodcast.com. And if you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review, or better yet, share it with a friend. While it takes less than 60 seconds to do, its impact will last for years to come, as every little bit helps in growing the awareness and the importance of mental and emotional health. Thank you for listening. Thank you for living. And until next time, be kind to your mind and join me again as we calm it down.